Welcome to Vibrational Revelations. I'm Elena.
I am Alejandro.
And today's episode is called Australian Open 2022. Alejandro and I were excited to measure the frequencies and different layers of consciousness of all the different characters that are in the media, in the news at this very moment. And of course, it's impacted the entire world and sparked so many different debates. So we felt that this was a very important episode to reveal to our YouTube followers and, of course, our Vibrational Revelations membership community. So for those of you that are joining us for the very first time, keep in mind that you're welcome to also download the scale of consciousness that will be below. The link is going to be posted below this video. For those of you that are joining us on YouTube, thank you so much for being part of our Vibrational Revelations YouTube community. We also encourage you to join our membership community. Today's episode will be cut in half. Part of it will be revealed on YouTube, and the rest of it will be revealed to our Vibrational Revelations members. Just to keep it all in perspective, we're revealing 9 different characters today. We'll go through the list in a moment. And we are also revealing 34 different categories. Through those categories, it gives all of us a deeper lens of understanding and perception into what constitutes the reality of each of those characters. So we're excited to begin.
How they're perceiving life, right?
Yes, how they're perceiving life. Absolutely.
And that definitely has a lot to do with the way they're viewing the whole situation and the decisions that they're making, right? It's based on the level of consciousness that they are currently experiencing.
Yes. So the 9 characters that we're revealing to you today are Novak Djokovic, Daniil Medvedev, who is a number 2 tennis player, Rafael Nadal, Boris Becker, who is the former coach for Novak Djokovic, Howard Stern, who's been very vocal about it in the news, the Immigration Minister of Australia, Alex Hawke, who's actually revoked Djokovic immigration visa, right? Twice. Greg Hunt, the Health Minister of Australia, Scott Morrison, who is the Prime Minister of Australia, and Alexander Vučić, who is the President of Serbia. So let's begin. We're going to start with Howard Stern. Howard Stern has a podcast, I guess, and a media outlet.
He's a radio personality.
A radio personality, yes, in the United States. He incarnated at the frequency of 200, courage. He was born at the frequency of 50, which is apathy. And his overall vibrational frequency as of today is 100. And 100 is the frequency of fear. So the overall perception of life is through the lens of fear. Health, he views through the lens of fear, 100. Finances, he views through the lens of neutrality, 250. Creativity, he views through the lens of fear, 100. Relationships, he views through the lens of 50, which is apathy. And again, this is on a scale of 0 to 1,000, 1,000 being a fully integrated being. Personal growth, Howard Stern views through the lens of 50, apathy. So there's a lot of disassociation. Philanthropy, the art of sharing and giving, is fear frequency, 100. Intuition for Howard Stern is 50. So very much disconnected, this apathy. And then we measure 4 different aspects of intuition. Clairaudience, 50. Clairsentience, 50. Clairvoyance, 50, and claircognizance, also 50. Now, we've introduced recently a new aspect, which is looking into the different levels of intelligence. And what we're doing is we're actually applying the lens of consciousness to see how it relates to their level of intelligence. So the IQ for Howard Stern is 310, which is willingness. EQ, the emotional intelligence, is 50, apathy, so disconnected. SQ, 250, which is social quotient. It also has to do with your magnetism. And 250 is a level of neutrality. And AQ, adversity quotient, He views through the lens of 50, which is apathy. So whenever he's faced with challenging situations, he disconnects or disassociates. He enjoys his role. So now we're going into percentages. So Howard Stern enjoys his role 46% of the time, again, from 0 to 100%. He's in his ego 100%. And of course, we break down the ego into inferior and superior. Inferior ego are the thoughts that make you feel like you're not good enough. And the superior is the very opposite, thinking that you know it all, there's nothing to learn, you're it. So for Howard Stern, he's 100% in the superior ego. In the now, 46%. Integrity, 67%. And we started breaking down integrity for public figures of how loyal and faithful they are to themselves. So integrity for Howard Stern to self is 92%, and integrity to others is 44%.
As we mentioned this before, that to self meaning the persona, right? Mm-hmm. Because some spiritual teachers refer to self as the inner self, inner being, or higher self, right?
Right. This is personality, human self.
Yes, the humanness.
Self-awareness, 58%. Clarity, 70%. Alignment with divine purpose. That means how well is he playing his divine role? 77% out of 100%. Alignment with personal purpose is 100%. Compassion, 59%. Empathy, 69%. Energy purity, and we look at energy purity, it has to do with how much a person embodies their overall frequency. And in this case, for Howard Stern, it's a frequency of fear, 100. And he embodies this frequency at 55%. Now, in his case, we're not measuring dimensions because anytime the frequency is below the frequency of 200, that means they're in the lower frequencies and therefore lower dimensions. And one thing I want to say before we proceed any further, just know that every human being matters. Everyone has their own journey. Everyone is playing an important role, whether they're in the shadow and the light. So whichever side you choose, just know that you are walking your own divine path. And hopefully there are people that are inspiring you to be the very best version of yourself. So I just wanted to mention that because these numbers actually reveal a lot, but at the same time, that's the journey for that particular person. Mm-hmm. Rafael Nadal. He incarnated at the frequency of 250, which is neutrality. He was born at the frequency of 100 fear. And his overall frequency as of today, 250. Health, he views through the lens of fear, 100. Finances, through the lens of 400, which is reason. So he has a very analytical lens, a very analytical approach towards finances. Creativity, 250, neutrality. Relationships, he views through the lens of pride, 175. So whenever we see that frequency of pride, it means that you're seeking for external validation.
Approval.
Approval, yes. Personal growth, he views through the lens of 250, neutrality. Philanthropy, through the lens of 175, pride. Intuition, 250, and 250 is the lens of neutrality. Clairaudience is frequency of 250, neutrality. Clairsentience, which is the feeling in the body, is the frequency of 400, reason. Clairvoyance, 250, neutrality. And claircognizance is the frequency of courage, 200. Now, his level of IQ is 250, neutrality. EQ, the emotional intelligence, is 50, apathy, disconnect. SQ, which is social quotient, the level of magnetism, and it's 400, reason. And AQ, the adversity quotient, is 50, apathy. He enjoys his role 78%. He's in the ego 100%. And out of that 100%, 94% is in the superior ego. In the now, 78%. Integrity, 91%. And out of that, integrity to himself as a persona self, as Alejandro differentiated, is 91%. And integrity to others, 64%. Self-awareness, 86%. Clarity, 92%. Alignment with divine purpose, 97%, and alignment with personal purpose, 95%. Compassion, 67%, empathy, 78%, energy purity, 92%. So he embodies the 250 frequency at 92%. And of course, in his case, since he's above the frequency of 200, we measured the fifth dimension, which has to do with frequency of 500 or the state of flow, right? So he experiences the fifth dimension 9% of the time. Okay. Now, the next one on the list is Daniil Medvedev. He's a number 2 player in the world.
Tennis player.
Tennis player in the world, sorry. Tennis player. We are doing everything related to tennis today. Mm-hmm. He incarnated at the frequency of 250, neutrality. He was born at the frequency of 100, fear. And his overall frequency is 250, neutrality. He views health through the lens of 250, which is neutrality, finances through the lens of 250, which is also neutrality, creativity, 400, so it means he has a creative mind, relationships, 250, neutrality, personal growth, 400, reason, philanthropy, 250, neutrality, intuition, 400, reason. And under intuition, clairaudience, 250, neutrality, clairsentience, 400, reason, clairvoyance, 350, acceptance, and claircognizance, 400, reason. IQ, 250, neutrality, EQ, emotional intelligence. In this case, there's definitely a difference, right? You can see numbers, 250, neutrality, SQ, the social quotient, 250, and AQ, also 250, so quite balanced in all the intellect aspects, right? Or the aspects of intelligence. He enjoys his role, 81%. He's in his ego, 94%. And out of that, 86% is in the inferior ego. In the now, 88%. He is 98% in his integrity. And out of that, 100% integrity to himself and 96% integrity to others. That's also quite high. Self-awareness, 96%. Clarity, 96%. Alignment with divine purpose, 98%. And alignment with personal purpose, 96%. Compassion, 97%. Empathy, 97%. So very compassionate. Energy purity, 97%. And he's experiencing this fifth dimension, or what we call the state of flow, 38% of the time.
Next is Boris Becker. As you know, he was number 1 tennis player.
And also Djokovic's coach for a while.
Djokovic, Novak's coach. Boris incarnated at the frequency of 250, level of neutrality, was born at the frequency of 100, level of fear, and his overall frequency is 250. So he's experiencing the neutrality level of consciousness, right? When it comes to health, he views health through the lens of fear at 100. Finances, 400. That is the level of reason, high intellect. Creativity, 200, level of courage. Relationships, 175, the level of pride. Personal growth, 250. Philanthropy, 250. Intuition, 100. And with an intuition, we have clairaudience at 100, clairsentience, 200, clairvoyance, 100, and claircognizance, 100. Now,
fear.
Yes, mostly. And this is how, not really how intuitive the person is or how much intuitive messages they receive. It is more about the filter that gets activated and when the information comes, right? Now we go into intelligence, the intelligence aspect, and we have IQ at 350, level of acceptance, EQ 50, level of apathy. SQ 250, level of neutrality. And AQ at 50, level of apathy again. Indie joy, how much fun he's having playing the role of Boris in this reality, is at 72%. In the ego, how much he's paying attention to thought, is 98%. And within the ego, we have two types of thoughts, as Elena mentioned, the inferior version of the ego and the superior version of the ego. And in his case, it's 96% in the superior version of the ego. In the now, as of how much time he spends in the now, in the present moment, is 73%. Integrity, how loyal and faithful he is to his truth, to his core values and beliefs, is 88%. And how faithful and loyal he is to himself is 90%. And to others is 66%. Self-awareness, 90%. Clarity, 96%. Alignment with divine purpose, and we compare this to self-realization, is 94%. Alignment with personal purpose, we compare this to self-actualization, and that's at 97%. Compassion, 77%. Empathy, 78%. Energy purity, 91%. And as Elena mentioned, this is a good indicator that gives you an idea of how close the person is to shift to a higher level of consciousness.
But also how much they embody that frequency.
Because of how much they're embodying the current level of consciousness. In his case, the level of neutrality at 250. When it comes to dimensions, he's experiencing the fifth dimension 3% of the time. And by the way, that includes during dream state as well, not only awakened hours. Right? Next is Novak Djokovic.
The man at the center of the controversy.
Right, he's on the spotlight, right? At the moment, more than ever, I think. He incarnated at the frequency of 250, level of neutrality. He was born at the frequency of 200, level of courage. And his overall frequency is 500. That is the level of love. When it comes to health, he views health through the eyes of enlightenment. Enlightenment begins at the frequency of 700. It goes all the way to 1,000, right? Being the, I would say, the limit that we have established for the human experience based on the consciousness scale that Dr. Hawkins created, right? Now, when it comes to finances, he views finances through the eyes or the lens of reason, high intellect at 400. Creativity, 500. Relationships, 400. Personal growth, 700. Also has an enlightened relationship with the aspect of personal growth. Philanthropy, 500. This is about, giving, sharing not only money, but energy, time, and with other people and with himself, right? So he has a loving relationship with the aspect of philanthropy. Intuition, 500. Within intuition, we have clairaudience at 400, clairsentience, 600. That is the level of peace. Clairvoyance, 500. And claircognizance, 500. We go into the intelligence aspect now under IQ, to begin with that, is at 350, level of acceptance. EQ, 500, level of love. SQ, 500, and AQ, 200. Now we go into percentages. In the joy, as of how much fun he's having playing his role in this reality, is 86%. In the ego, 85%. And 52% of that is the inferior version of the ego. In the now, 89%. Integrity, 95%. Integrity to self, 100%. And integrity to others, 98%. Self-awareness, 100%. Clarity, 100%. Alignment with divine purpose, 96%. And alignment with personal purpose, 98%. This could indicate that he's one step away from being in full alignment with his personal purpose, right? Maybe another title could be, or who knows. Compassion, 100%. Empathy, 100%. Energy purity, 100%. So he's embodying the 500 level of consciousness fully. And at any given moment, he could move up to the next level, which is the 540, the level of joy, right? Mm-hmm. But he's already familiar with the 700 level of consciousness when it comes to the aspect of personal growth and the aspect of health as well, right? So it's a lot easier for him to transcend to higher levels if he wants to.
And dimensions.
And dimensions. Yes, thank you. Now your intervention was timely, needed. When it comes to dimensions, he's experiencing the 6th dimension 61% of the time. Yes. Last but not least.
We have a few more.
Yes, we do. Mm-hmm. Alex, how will you pronounce his last name?
Hawke.
Alex Hawke. He's the immigration minister of Australia, who's involved, right, in this.
Well, he's the one who revoked
current situation. Who revoked
twice the visa
Novak's
from Novak.
visa, right? Alex Hawke incarnated at the frequency of 310, which is the level of willingness. Was born at the frequency of 100, the level of fear. And his overall vibrational frequency is 175, which is the level of pride. He views health through the lens of fear at 100. And this is not about how healthy he is or not. This is about the why behind it, right? Mm-hmm. Of how he makes his decisions from when it comes to the aspect of health. Finances. He views finances through the lens of neutrality at 250. Creativity at 175, which is the level of pride. Relationships, 50, level of apathy. Personal growth, 175. Philanthropy, 50. Intuition, 50. And within intuition, we have clairaudience at 50. Clairsentience, 50. Clairvoyance, 50. And claircognizance at 50. Under the intelligence aspect, we have IQ, 250. EQ, 50. SQ, 50. And AQ, 50.
There's a lot of apathy there, shut down. Mm-hmm.
A lot of dissociation, right? Obviously to trauma. In the joy, 59%. In the ego, 100%. And 100% of that is the inferior version of the ego. In the now, 56%. Integrity, 57%. Integrity to self, 87%. And integrity to others, 39%. Self-awareness, 64%. Clarity, 77%. Alignment with divine purpose, 75%.
That's out of alignment for sure. Mm-hmm.
alignment with personal purpose, 99%. And this is about, again, the sense of fulfillment, right? The one has, and related to self-actualization, his personal experience. Compassion, 84%. Empathy, 86%. And energy purity, 67%. Now, we did not measure how much time he spends on the fifth dimension, like Elena explained, because his overall frequency is below 200.
Mm-hmm. All right, next. Gregory Andrew Hunt, who is the Health Minister of Australia.